He's been involved in the property industry for over 40 years, with experience in markets such as the US, Canada and Australia. And he's recently made his foray into the market here in Asia with this project in Johor Bahru in Malaysia. Lang Walker has been ranked by Forbes as the 21st richest man in Australia. And I caught up with him to find out why he chose this project to launch in Asia. When Lang Walker looks at a property or a plot of land, he sees a vision of the final project. That, he says, is what sets him apart from other property developers. And his vision has built his privately owned Walker Corp, which lists more than $4 billion in developments underway across Australia. And according to Forbes, Mr. Walker is also estimated to have a cash pile exceeding $800 million. But with a background in civil engineering, his empire was built out of turmoil.
I was in a civil engineering business and working for a major developer who was having trouble with paying me. So I was taking land in lieu of cash, and eventually they went broke back in the early 70s, and I had a lot of land. So there was a recessionary time back in the 70s. So I figured out I couldn't sell the land. So at that stage, I then employed the best architects I could find in Sydney at the time, built the houses, high quality, presented them very well, and the first 5 houses sold within 3 weeks of completions.
Mr. Walker has experience in property markets of Australia, US and Canada, but is expanding his footprint in Asia, starting with a 620 million Aussie dollar investment into this project, Senibong Cove in Malaysia. So you've invested 4 decades into the property industry with projects in Australia, the US and Canada, and now you've made a foray into Asia here in Johor Bahru. Why did you choose this particular area?
Back in 99, I think it was, we were approached when we were doing King Street Wharf by the Kwok family. They invited us to come up and have a look at Johor Bahru, and very interesting. I just felt that it had a lot of potential, its proximity to Singapore. I guess the reasons were that there was a coastal highway going through that had been planned, all of the infrastructure work around JB, the 2 governments were working together, and I just felt the leverage from Singapore was, it was just, compelling. And I guess compelling in a sense that we could produce a product, a waterfront master planned community. And as today now that coastal highway is open, where from the causeway, this project is 8 minutes drive from the causeway without any traffic lights.
And it's the Singapore retiree market that Mr. Walker is targeting for this project. He tells me that the second release, which is a waterfront project, is slowly being marketed in Singapore. And already 50% of the product has been sold in Singapore, and 50% of those buyers are Singaporean.
I was very conscious of the fact that I wanted to get the infrastructure in, I want to finish stage 1, I wanted to at least let people know from Singapore that, all the infrastructure, all the reclamation work, bridges, landscaping, all of that's in place, and it'll be all finished by April next year. So they can see when they come here, there's a lot to offer with the waterfront, the clubs, the security. Each precinct will have its own gatehouse and proper security.
Mr. Walker plans to open an office in Singapore to market properties in Australia, as well as this development and future developments in Johor Bahru, as well as scope out potential projects in Singapore.
I have a philosophy of infrastructure is one of the most important things, and we're looking right at the moment at a project within 5 minutes of the second crossing. And that's a site that we've purchased, and we'll be starting to develop up plans and do that.
And in your opinion, is now the time to invest in Asia?
Well, I'm here investing a lot of my money. In fact, we were the only company in Johor Bahru that continued with all the reclamation and the work right through the GFC. And right now we're seeing the benefits of that with the sales that we're achieving.
So what does it take to make a successful property project?
Well, location obviously is the most important. You know, it's pretty obvious that you either make your money when you buy the site. That's sort of definitely key. But I think the other thing is, you know, over the years, I've seen a lot of people that, you know, they talk about making money out of a project, and I think that's probably the wrong approach.
But the journey for Mr. Walker has not been without its challenges.
I think we had been private, public, and I think, you know, there's two different parts. There's the REIT space and there's the development space. And I think a lot of the public companies find it difficult, particularly in Australia, find it difficult to work out whether they're either a developer or a REIT. And, you know, it's a different mentality managing a REIT to being a developer. And I think that's what I've seen as being the biggest challenge, where a lot of public companies are sort of dictated by the analyst and what the analysts are thinking, rather than what the property market or the cycle is doing.
So maybe you can tell me then, what does the future hold for you and the company?
Well, around Australia, I think, you know, a very strong future. We currently have around about 30,000 blocks of land to be developed over the next 10 or 15 years. Right at the moment, we've got plenty to do.
Well, that's our show for this week. If you have any questions or comments, you'll find us at channelnewsasia.com/moneymind. You'll also find us on Facebook. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.